hit me over the head when I was 6 years old. Elvis Presley truly hit me over the head. You know, it's like I don't know how I became aware of him even. I think there were always things being sold just on TV that you could get about Elvis, and I think there was like a book of photographs of Elvis Presley. So I kind of remember that, and and when I was on my birthday, my 6th birthday, I got a record called Legendary Performer Volume 1, which is like the collection of his very first hits. It starts, I think, with That's All Right, and that kind of like That's All Right Mama. And that song in particular just changed my life. You know, it's like at 6 years old to have your whole life shaped for you by one song. That's what happened. You know, I heard that, and it really got into my blood in the way that I know some people can relate to that, but probably a lot of people can't. Maybe some people probably never have something get into their blood like that. And from that day on, I would come home I'd get home from grade school, and I would instantly go to my room and put on whatever Elvis record I was listening to, and I would bounce on the edge of my bed, like rock on it, and just sing Elvis to where it got to where I'd indented my bed, and I kept having to flip the mattress around to find. It got to where every corner of my bed had a indentation from me just listening to Elvis and rocking. And but man, so from like 1st through 6th grade, Elvis was my thing. And in 3rd grade, I started playing guitar because of that. And I had a kind of natural singing thing, so I started singing in church and stuff like that when I was a kid. And but yeah, that's how it happened. And I had delusions of grandeur from that. You know, I wanted to be Elvis. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a star. You know, like a rock star like Elvis. And so my fate was sealed pretty young.
But I've been searching high and low.
I don't think there was one time my parents ever said, "Are you gonna think about a day job, or maybe you should really think about a career, like a real career." They've always been the opposite. They were at, and I've played some seedy places, and they've always been there. So they still come to lots of shows, and yeah, they've been great. They've never once tried to get me on a different course. And even since I was little, me singing and writing and stuff has been. They just were always I would always be at family parties and stuff. I'd sing songs and stuff, and it was always a source of pride more than embarrassment. I played to sing, really, and I played to write. I didn't play because I was burning up to play guitar, So I've gotten my biggest influences are people I've played with, like Dave Brown, a guy I played with in the Gathering Field. He's just an insane guitar player. He's so his taste is so good, and just where he's coming from is so deep that just like hearing him for years, I started to have better taste just by osmosis, and started to make better choices of what I'd play. And I think I just have a lot of there are tons of natural things I do that you wouldn't call it skill, really, but it's like, but it's distinct, and it's become kind of what I do. So it's kind of cool. And I've been playing more and more as a solo acoustic thing, touring more like that. That kind of challenges me to get better on the acoustic guitar, and I have been. It's been a real. So I've become a player just because I had to.
We will raise our arms up into the nighttime sky.
There are many artists that have kind of shaped me. My kind of holy trinity are Jackson Browne, like especially his earlier. Actually, that's not true. All his records I love, but like Late for the Sky, and he had like 3 or 4 in the early '70s that just still destroy me. I listen to them, still now. And Bruce Springsteen, pretty much everything he's done, and those two are more. They really affected my writing. Van Morrison was a real influence. I don't think I write so much like him, but he inspires me to try to be spiritual or something with my music, or you know, there's this mystical element to him that's so cool. You know, he doesn't think twice about working through any kind of spiritual struggle publicly. He doesn't talk about it, of course, but he writes. He just writes all these real honest songs about that kind of stuff, and that inspires me to. Because really, my music is probably spiritual more than anything else. It's not religious, but it's kind of spiritual in the sense that, you know, just being alive as a person is kind of like it's a struggle of our spirits, you know. So it's like I write songs about people struggling and overcoming struggles and maybe not quite overcoming them, and that to me is it's all spiritual.
Hold on, I'll rescue you.
I used to write almost never in the first person, which was, I would really hide it behind he and she and that kind of, you know, it would be about them. Even like Lost in America, which was kind of the biggest song I had, that was, you know, it was all about a guy, him, you know, so never I. And I've only in the past few years have I pretty much always now will write in the first person. I still write stories, you know, not that aren't always about me, but I've just become much more comfortable saying I. And I think people understand that just because you say I doesn't really mean you necessarily. I guess technically you might say I always do, not necessarily a lick. You know, like I wrote another song called I'll Be Here, which isn't on this thing, but that started with that. So that's a real musical piece, you know, and so is Long Way Home, kind of. That's like, I mean, it's just a few chords, but there's a musical element to it. And sometimes songs will start with that. But more often, it's like, most days, I'll pick up a guitar and, like I was just, before we started talking here, I had some kind of melody going to a little chord thing so it's mostly just chords and melody. Hardly ever is it lyrics that start it. When I was younger, I would have tons of lyrics written everywhere, and I'd cram them into any kind of music I could think of, you know, and it wouldn't feel too organically pleasing. So now I've learned to just kind of pick up my guitar and, you know, hope for a melody to come through.
Snow on the railroad tracks.
I can remember my first studio experience. It would just be painful to watch it. You know, it's like the first time you sing into a mic in a studio, you know, with headphones on, and I was so uncomfortable, so my voice was so like harsh, and I didn't know how to finesse anything. You know, it was all just, I had one speed I went at, and just over the years, especially the past several years, just I write and record at the same time, always. You know, just acoustic demos, but I'm always have some kind of recording, like a little Pro Tools thing I have, or I had a Roland, you know, 16-track thing. So as I'm writing, and on those you use a click track, or you can. So I got really comfortable keeping time, which is a real good asset to have in the studio. So I don't rush, or, you know, don't fight the tempo. And but yeah, I've gotten so much more comfortable to where now I won't even think of, you know, if you put a microphone in front of me right now to sing a track, I wouldn't, it would be more about how to approach it, not how to get comfortable, you know. So it's like yeah, that's the joy of experience. Blue Sky Gray, probably the most notable thing for the DVD is that a good friend of mine, Scott Blasey, comes up and sings, and Scott was or is in the band The Clarks, and they've been they're actually like a phenomenon. They're so big in Pittsburgh and have been such a force for such a long time. You know, it's and they've done it through just being good guys. You know, it's like they go against the norm, the industry norm, where nice guys actually finish first here, and so Rob's in the Clarks, and it was just nice to include Scott also, and we were kind of joking around about, he called it our long and storied past, and I remember in early days I would open for the Clarks acoustically. Rob kind of discovered me. He hosted an open stage in Pittsburgh, and Rob is kind of like, he's the glue of the Pittsburgh community sort of guy, and he took me under his wing and introduced me to everybody, and and then before I knew it, I was opening for the Clarks at the Decade, and even in some other towns. And it was a little awkward with Scott because I didn't really know him very well, and he was the lead singer of the Clarks. And I remember we were sitting in a dressing room the first time. Actually, the Clarks ended up backing me, everybody but Scott. And Scott said something about me dating his band, and it was just kind of a funny moment. But he's sung on most Gathering Field records, and there's just something about us singing together that seems to work. And yeah, it is. The Clarks and I both travel a ton, and we don't see each other so much anymore, and so it's always a real thrill to hook up with them musically and to play something. And so I was psyched that Scott could come down and participate, this weekend. Were there dark years for Bill Deasy? Yes, there were. Although I wouldn't change anything. It's like it's hard to even use the word dark when I wouldn't want to change it. It's like you kind of need to go through hell sometimes to get to the other side, So so dark. I mean, I think my life's a process, and I can still be dark, and I still have dark days, and just I'm thinking when I'm old and I'm done writing songs, and I'll probably look back on everything I wrote and think it sort of just chronicles me trying to get out of that darkness for good. And maybe you never do, as a person living in the world. So, but that's kind of that's really what my songs really are about. It's like it's light and dark, and so yes, I've had dark days, and I still do, but I'm not nearly as dark as I used to be. I get a lot of emails and things of pretty heavy feedback, and that's pretty gratifying. It's like, especially in this crazy business, that you can, if you pin your self-esteem on business, it's like you're doomed, because you'll be a king one day and you'll be, a pauper the next. So it means a lot to know that you've helped people through tough times, or that kind of stuff. That lots of emails I've read and gotten chills, are just like, wow, that's heavy. I didn't. You don't think that the music you're writing can be like a real participant in people's lives like that. So you think of it just as songs and that you'll play out and you'll have an experience of music with, but you don't really think about like people have told me that songs of, they were thinking of suicide, or they were whatever, they were in the worst time of their life, and this or that song was the song that kind of got them out of that. And that's probably the greatest reward, for what I do. This DVD is exciting for me because, I've so many times, probably the most often heard thing for me is, you're so much different live, or you're so much better live, or you're so whatever live compared to the records. Not that they don't like the records, but they, there's just something about the live experience that I maybe haven't gotten on tape yet. And so that's the most appealing aspect of this. For any of its flaws or whatever, for whatever just a live performance is, it performing these songs is really an important aspect of the songs. It's like it's one thing to listen in your car or listen in your house, and that's equally important, but the live experience of a tune is kind of where it comes to life the most, probably, when you experience it. And so it's exciting for me. I just loved I love playing with Rob, in this particular weekend, and that was special for me. And just everything about the weekend that we recorded was special. There was just the opening acts both nights, and there was just this weird closeness that everybody felt. I don't know, it just it happened. So I'm glad we captured it, and I'm proud to be putting it out. It's like it's a good element for me to leave. You know, not that I'm about to die or anything, but you know what I mean. I think in a weird way, this might be a more important thing for me to leave behind. It's like to show my grandkids or whatever what I did. I would show them this DVD, if you can still watch DVDs then. But but that's where, you know, that's what I did. That's what I do for a living, is playing music.
Thank you all.